ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور غيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نظير ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صافات ويقبضن ما يمسكوهن كل شيء بصير أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو على صراط مستقيم قل هو الذي ينشأكم وجعل قليلا ما تشكرون قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين فلما رأوا زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون قل أرأيتم إن أهلكني الله ومن معي أو رحمنا فمن يجير الكافرين من عذاب عليم قل هو الرحمن وآمنا به وعليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين قل أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا فمن يأتيكم بماء معين صدق الله العلي العظيم رحم الله من قرأ سورة مباركة الفاتحة.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة، فقلت عليك السلام. قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا، فقلت له إذك بالله يا عبتاه من الضعف. آية جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله، فقلت نام إن جدك تحت الكساء. فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله، أتأذنني أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي، ويا صاحب حوضي قد أذنت لك، فدخل معه تحت الكساء. وما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه، فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه وعدني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه، السلام عليك يا من اختار الله، أتأذنني أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافي أمتي قد أذنت لك، فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأكمل عند ذلك بالحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله، فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية أخي وابن عمي رسول الله صلى الله تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وهما بيد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحمتي، لحمهم لحمي ودعم مبنية، ولا أرضا مدحية، ولا قمرا منيرا، ولا شمسا مضية، ولا فلكا يدور، ولا بحرا يجري، ولا فلكا يسري، إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال آمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبالها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن يهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك، فهبت الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى، يقرأك السلام ويقصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي ودين وهي الله إنه نام قد أذنت لك، فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال بإن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. فقال علي نبي يا رسول الله أكمل لما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واستفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم، وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله حما، ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله هما، ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وسعدنا، وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الله اشفع لنا يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله عند الله يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا عند الله يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الهادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله عند الله يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وسيع الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها اشفع لنا عند الله. حاجات. يا سادتي وموالي، إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله، وتوسلت بكم إلى الله، واستشفعت بكم إلى الله، فاشفعوا لي عند الله، واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله، فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله، وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله، فكونوا عند الله رجائي. يا سادتي يا أولياء الله، صلى الله عليهم أجمعين، ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين. آمين رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat. Kushal Mubarak to everybody. We'll be reciting a munajat of Bibi Fatima. Inshallah, we can all recite together. Since we're all wearing masks, so we'll have to recite even louder so we can hear each other out. Muhammad wa al Muhammad salawat. آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ. All together please. آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ. جبرائیل امی دے رہے ہیں صدا، آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ. آج خوش ہے بہت عشر الانبیاء، آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ. All together please. آ گئی فاطمہ. عیش سے فرشی تک نور کا ہے سما، آئی عالم میں 11 اماموں کی ماں. عیش سے فرشی تک نور کا ہے سما، آئی 11 آئی عالم میں 11 اماموں کی ماں. دور عالم کا سہارا اندھیرا ہوا، آ گئی فاطمہ، آ گئی فاطمہ. مصطفیٰ واری حسنین اے مرتضی حکم خالق سے جب ہو گئے ایک جان مصطفیٰ واری حسنین اے مرتضی حکم خالق سے جب ہو گئے ایک جان پھر درودوں کی بارش میں زہر کی سایہ آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ
آ گئی فاطمہ
جس کے در سے ملکی رزق پاتے رہیں اور بن بن کے خیرات آتے رہیں جس کے در سے ملکی رزق پاتے رہیں اور بن بن کے خیرات آتے رہیں بھیک لینی ہے جلدی سے کشکول لا آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ میں گنہگاری کیا میں ہری وقت کیا میں گنہگاری کیا میں ہری وقت کیا ایک آنسو کے بدلے سلائے ملا خود سے خود میرے حق میں کرنے دعا آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ میں حسن مشکلوں میں گرا جب کبھی میں نے دربار زہرا میں فریاد کی میں حسن مشکلوں میں گرا جب کبھی میں نے دربار زہرا میں فریاد کی ختم ہونے نہ پائی تھی میری دعا آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ جبرائیل امی دے رہے ہیں صدا آ گئی فاطمہ آ گئی فاطمہ محمد وعلی محمد صلوات
Sayyid Shabbir Kirmani, respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sayyid Fatah is requested for the Salih Sawab or Marhumin listed on the screen and for all Marhumin. Al-Fatiha. Ayya Aman Yujibu is requested for the names listed on the screen and for all those in need here and elsewhere. 5 times Aman Yujibu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amman yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su'. Amman yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu wa yakshifu su'. أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. On behalf of all of us at Masjid Hayy, I'd like to extend a Kushali Mubarak to you all on the auspicious night of the Wiladat of Bibi Fatima Zehra alayhi salam. Ladies program. On Wednesday, February 3rd, the Majlis program for the Wiladat of Bibi Fatima Zehra will be held here at 2:15 p.m. Sister Tahira Ja'far will be speaking on the topic of living a fulfilling life, lessons from the Lady of Light. The celebration will also include Surah Dahar, competition for all ladies of all ages, Kahoot, and much more. For registering for the Quran competition, please check the newsletter. Super Bowl Sunday. Come join us at Masjid Hayy on Super Bowl Sunday, February 7th from 6 p.m. onwards to watch the game on a big screen that will be set up in the parking lot. All you have to do is show up and bring a chair to enjoy the game with food being sold by OMG, including wings, burgers, sekala, and much more. You'll be required to adhere to CDC guidelines for wearing masks and social distancing. Khums Ijaza. We should inform you that we continue to have official authorization to collect Khums dues to be used fully towards the running and maintenance of Masjid Hayy. You may fulfill your obligated religious dues by generously supporting Masjid Hayy and continue spreading the blessed benefits to the Orlando community. To remit your Khums towards upkeep and maintenance of the Masjid, please contact Brother Murtaza Kareem at finance@masjidhayy.org or visit the link on the screen. Finally, if you or your child is interested in reciting during the programs held here at the Masjid, please reach out to me at 407-619-2021 or sign up using the link on the screen. At this time, I would like to invite Sayyid Shabbir to come recite tonight's Majlis with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فوضوا أمري إلى الله إن الله بصير بالعباد ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل ونعم المولى ونعم النصير. والصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجمين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. وقل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد، قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. زينوا مجالسكم بالصلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman here in Florida and across the globe, wherever you're hearing my voice, Salaamu Alaikum Jameen wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. Question, who is the greatest lady in the heavens and the earth? Keep that question in the back of your mind, inshallah, we'll return to it. If you look at our world and you begin to compile a list of the greatest women that have ever lived on our planet, you may find the names appear such as the likes of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Or you may find in contemporary times the likes of the name of Mother Teresa, a humanitarian. Or if you go even more contemporary in our 21st century, you'll find the names like Malala Yousafzai and other individuals. But when the question comes, who is the greatest individual, the greatest lady in the heavens and the earth, the conversation gets a bit more complicated. And in that conversation, I am here to make the argument tonight on the Wiladat, on the birth celebration and commemoration of the Lady of Light, Fatima Zehra, that it is none other than Fatima Zehra, salamullahi alayha, the greatest in the heavens and the greatest on earth, in terms of women that have existed on this planet. You see, when we discuss Fatima Zehra, salamullahi alayha, typically our conversation begins with her life on this planet. When in reality, when you look at the riwayat, when you look at the ahadith, when you look at the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, to begin the conversation at her presence on this world would be to do injustice to this great personality. Therefore, our conversation in the brief moments that we have together is on Fatima Zehra, the access of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, as well as her life and legacy. Because what is meant by her being the access, that's what I want to cover. And to understand her as the access of the Ahlul Bayt, we must first understand where did she come from? Where did her being come from? Therefore, the first question that I want to look at in our analysis tonight with respect to the birth, celebration and commemoration of Fatima Zehra is, what was that environment that led to her birth? What was her creation and existence before the creation of this world as we know it? Number one. Number two, what is the connection of Fatima Zehra and Mi'raj? That is the ascension of the Holy Prophet towards the heavens. What is that connection between Fatima Zehra and Mi'raj? Number three, what was the circumstances and environment in which Fatima Zehra was born on this planet? That is, what environment was Lady Khadija, her mother, in, and what can we learn from that in terms of her fadila and merit in understanding Fatima Zehra? I then want to come to some aspects of her personality that we can use to improve our lives. For example, in terms of children, in terms of marriages, in terms of households, how can we build strong families? How can we build strong households, and so on and so forth? And the fifth level I want to look at with respect to Fatima Zehra is her karamat and assisting people in the most difficult of times. This is one of the solutions that you and I have to our disposal, because sometimes we get very materialistic in terms of our solutions. But we realize there's a spiritual realm that solves our problems as well in this world and this age. And I want to end with some of the poetry in honor of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. This is our agenda for tonight, inshallah. Wherever you are, here in Florida and across the globe, wherever you're hearing my voice, send a salawat on Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli. Mecca, modern day Saudi Arabia. You go towards the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to circumambulate around it, to do tawaf around it. Of course, in this era, in this day, and in this age and time, due to this pandemic, it's not necessarily possible and not something that's being done at the level it has been historically. But that place is known to you and I. That is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Kaaba. Millions and millions of Muslims visit every year in order to make the pilgrimage. But this house of Allah on earth, what is its connection to the heavens? You see, this Kaaba is a replica. A replica of what? According to our ulama, according to our scholars, this is a direct replica of the house of Allah on the Arsh, in the heavens, known as Baytul Ma'mur. Baytul Ma'mur is that house of Allah in the heavens which the angels circumambulate. If you draw a line from our Kaaba towards the heavens, straight line according to our scholars, you will hit eventually Baytul Ma'mur. in Baytul Ma'mur, this is also an answer to the question that many people ask during Laylatul Qadr. Remember, I recited the verses of Laylatul Qadr at the beginning of the lecture. Laylatul Qadr has a zahir meaning and Laylatul Qadr has a batin meaning. Laylatul Qadr has an apparent meaning and Laylatul Qadr has an allegorical meaning. The apparent meaning is the night of destiny where the Quran was revealed. But there's a batin meaning. That batin meaning, according to our scholars, is Fatima Zehra. Now the question that comes forward here is that with respect to Laylatul Qadr, was the Quran revealed in Laylatul Qadr in one night, or was the Quran revealed gradually over 23 years? Because remember, Rasulullah is going with his companions and ayah comes, Jibreel descends and ayah comes. Rasulullah is going, for example, on the mount and ayah comes. Verses are coming to Rasulullah gradually over a period of 23 years. But someone says, Sayyid, hold on a second. I thought Laylatul Qadr, the Quran was revealed in one night. What's the answer? One night or 23 years? The ulama have given the answer. Remember, we get a question in our mind and we get to begin to doubt and we say that, oh, all of this religion stuff, it's all useless, it's all nonsense. The answers have been given. The question is, do I have the time to research? And this phenomenon begins to happen in our modern world of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as the saying goes. We say that I don't understand this one aspect of religion, therefore all of religion is to go. This is a very common narrative these days and has been for some time. Nonetheless, the Quran, one night Laylatul Qadr or 23 years? The ulama give the answer. The answer is the Quran was revealed simultaneously in one night and also gradually over 23 years. How? The one night answer is that the Quran on Laylatul Qadr was revealed from Baytul Ma'mur, the house of Allah in the heavens, to Rasulullah, to the ground, to earth in one go. Rasulullah had it. But gradually during a 23 period, based on the zaman and makan, based on the time and space, the verses were revealed to the people during that time process. That's the answer that comes forward. Now, what does Baytul Ma'mur have to do with Fatima Zehra? You see, before our realm, there was something called Alamul Arwah. This world that we live in, there was something called Alamul Arwah, the realm of the spirits. Because someone may ask, where did I get this test? Why Imam Hussein in Karbala? Why the test of Imam Ali, for example, dealing with those people? Why do I have this test, for example, in my life? Where, for example, I may be disabled, or I may be handicapped, or I may be dealing with an illness, or I have to lose my father, or I have to lose my mother, or I have to lose my daughter, or I have to have this type of loss. All of these things were the tests that our souls accepted during Alamul Arwah. I don't have time to go into the details, but for another night inshallah. So Alamul Arwah. Before Alamul Arwah, there was Alamul Anwar. Alamul Anwar was the realm of the Nur, or the lights. That is where the Nur of Ahlul Bayt were in existence. And there's also Alam Hu and others. I don't want to get into the details, but this is Alamul Anwar. In Alamul Anwar, that is where the Nur of the Ahlul Bayt, if you know, for example, the first creation was the creation of the light of Rasulullah, according to our ahadith. Because Amir al-Mu'mineen was asked, before Adam, were there any creations of Allah? He said, yes, at least 4. He said there was the Nur of Ahlul Bayt, the Nur of Rasulullah, from that split the Nur of the Ahlul Bayt. And then the angels and the jinn and a creation called Nasnas, which if you remember my previous lectures, I've explained to you. So in this entity, there was an environment where the Ahlul Bayt's Nur was in existence. The Nur of the Ahlul Bayt, and in particular Fatima Zehra, was housed in Baytul Ma'mur, the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know how Amir al-Mu'mineen was born into the Kaaba in this world? There was the Nur of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Now, keep this in mind, number one. The existence of Fatima Zehra is in the heavens, number one, according to our scholars. Number two, what is the connection between Ma'raj and Fatima Zehra? You see, there's a moment in time where Rasulullah is called towards the heavens in Ma'raj. When he's called towards the heavens, there's a moment where he can go forward, but Jibreel, who is his tour guide, as we would say, of course he's not a tour guide in that sense. Rasulullah knows all of these things. It's for you and I to understand. Nonetheless, Jibreel says, I cannot go further. Why? Because if I go further, my wings will disintegrate. They will burn. They will be disintegrated. That the Quran itself says that he came closer and closer. Up till what point? قَابَ قَوْسَيْنَ أَوْ أَدْنَى. That he was 2 bows or less distance from the proximity of Allah, as the interpreters say. Now I want you to understand one thing very quickly here. Fakhruddin al-Razi, Sahib al-Tafsir al-Kabir, he's not a Shia scholar. He's a scholar of our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah. He's also known as Imam al-Mushaqqiqeen, that he is the Imam of those people who are the doubters. Ayatullah Wahid al-Khurasani, who's one of our grand scholars, he's in Qom, he's a student of Najaf. Ayatullah Wahid al-Khurasani says something interesting. If you take all of the scholars, according to him, if you take all of the scholars of our brothers in Ahlul Sunnah and put them on one side of the scale, and you put Fakhruddin al-Razi on the other side of the scale, Fakhruddin al-Razi will have more knowledge than all of them combined. Sahib Tafsir al-Kabir. This Sahib Tafsir al-Kabir, not my view, I'm giving his view to you. He says, why did Allah use, in his Tafsir al-Kabir, why did Allah use Qaba Qawsain aw Adna? Why 2 bows or less? Allah could have used a different measurement. Allah could have said 2 fingers, 2. What is the thing? Because Allah does not have zaman and makan. Allah doesn't have time and space. So why did He use 2 bows or less? He says this was used, هذا برد على استعمال العرب وعرضهم. That this was used because of the language and the linguistics of the Arabs of the time before Islam, the era of Jahiliyyah. What happened? That whenever true tribe leaders, whenever true tribesmen who were the leaders of the tribes, they came together and they wanted to declare their unity. They wanted to declare their unity and their being together with one another. They would symbolically take 2 bows, put them together, and take 1 arrow and fire it together into the distance. The indication, according to Fakhruddin al-Razi, was that they were saying that your battle is my battle, your peace is my peace. Therefore Fakhruddin al-Razi says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran al-Majid wal-Furqan al-Hamid, Qaba Qawsain aw Adna, that Rasulullah drew nearer and nearer up until he was 2 bows distance or less, it was as if Allah was saying, O Muhammad, your peace is my peace, your war is my war. And it is in that moment of the movement in where he was going on the Mi'raj that Allah made sure that a certain food was given to the Holy Prophet, in which would become the embodiment of Fatima Zehra, a symbolic gesture. That Allah invited Rasulullah and gave him certain food to make sure that this is where Fatima Zehra comes into our world in the physical embodiment, number 1, the first phase. But now the question comes, why did I tell you about this issue of the 2 bows and distance and less? Why? Because by now you know this better than anyone. When was Surah Kawthar revealed? I've told you this numerous times. I think any child here would know by now. Surah Al-Kawthar was revealed when As ibn Wa'il, the father of Amr ibn As, taunted Rasulullah and called him Abtar by the Kaaba. Now when he taunted, Rasulullah did not respond. There were many people who used to taunt Rasulullah. Rasulullah would not respond. Why? Because if he responded, people would say he had personal issues. This is not a prophet. He's just dealing with them. He's taking personal strife and personal arguments with people. He never responded. But that promise that was made in Mi'raj and before, that, O Muhammad, that your fight is my fight, your peace is my peace, Allah said, I will take revenge for you. I will take care of your enemies for you. And in that, the culmination and the birth of Fatima Zehra is the answers to all those who called Rasulullah Abtar. That comprehensive analysis, that comprehensive understanding that this person, this individual is of the highest status, Rasulullah. But I want to stop here because we need to understand Fatima Zehra in terms of the ahadith and her position. I've told you numerous times before in terms of the Quran, where is Fatima Zehra? Not in the Quran. You will find Fatima Zehra, for example, in Surah Kawthar, which I just mentioned. You will find her in Surah Dahar, which I've told you numerous times. You will find her in the ayah of Mubahila. You will find her time and time in ath-Thaniyah, for example. You will find her in numerous places. And also, this is only zahir, apparent. What about batin? I told you Surah Qadr. According to our ulama, Surah Al-Qadr refers to Fatima Zehra. Ayatollah Lankarani and others have done extensive tafsir on this. I don't have the time to go into those details. However, with respect to Fatima Zehra, there's a hadith Qudsi. What's a Hadith Qudsi? Hadith Qudsi is that is what has been said by Allah, but it's not in the Quran. It's the most authentic form of Hadith that we have. What does the Hadith say? The Hadith says, لَوْلَاكَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْأَفْلَاقِ, accepted by all Muslims here. But only one part of this has become famous. Only one part of this has become known. There's two other parts that people don't mention. Why don't they mention it? I asked the Muslim world, why don't you mention it? That لَوْلَاكَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْأَفْلَاقِ, that Allah is saying to Rasulullah, had it not been for you, O Muhammad, had it not been for you, O Prophet, I would not have created this universe. But what's the other parts? And had it not been for Ali, I would have not created you. And what's the third part? Allahu Akbar. وَلَوْلَا فَاطِمَةَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُكُمَا, that had it not been for Fatima, I would have not created the both of you. Who is Fatima Zehra? This is why the ulama say that when Allah says about Surah Al-Qadr, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ, and what do you know what Laylatul Qadr is? That is what the ulama, when they do the tafsir of this in the terms of the allegorical meaning, they say Fatima Zehra. What do you know what Fatima Zehra is? Because her status, her prestige, her honor will be known in another world, in another realm. It's not a joke that the 11th Imam Askari is saying, we are a hujjah on the people, and our grandmother Fatima Zehra is a hujjah on us. It's not a joke. So these are all of the elements before existence comes here. Now, what about in this planet, when she came into this world? I want to analyze that briefly with you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. As you know, when it was time for Fatima Zehra to be born, there was stiff economic sanctions had begun on Rasulullah and his comrades. Of course, it was an era, Shabbir Abi Talib happened down the road, as you know, but even before that, even at that time, although Lady Khadija was the wealthiest woman in Arabia and all of these things, they had done a socio-economic boycott on them. How? They said to all the women, make sure that if this lady, Khadija salamullahi alayha, has a daughter or has a child born, you are not to help. Remember, Rasulullah had a son by the name of Qasim, who died in infancy. That's why he was given the title Abul Qasim. He also had a child by the name of Tahir, they say, who also died in infancy. And that's when they began to taunt him. His sons are dying. But Fatima, these children were happening. However, was there anyone to help Lady Khadija? No. So what happened? Lady Khadija was in a state where she was expecting a child. She called on the women and said that, will there be anyone to assist me? Will there be anyone to help me? So the pages of history can write. They said, if you do one thing, we'll help you. We'll be the first ones to help you. You know, usually when someone has wealth, when someone has income, they don't have any shortage of people to come and help them. Lady Khadija had no shortage of income. But they had put so much socio-political pressure on her that she couldn't do anything and nobody could help her. So what did they say? They said, we will help you on one condition, just one condition. Leave this man Muhammad. Leave this man Muhammad. He said, you can do anything to me, I will never leave this man. The first person to give this evidence and the first person to believe in Rasulullah at that point in time was Lady Khadija salamullahi alayha. She had absolute trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore what happened? At that point in time, she said, I have no need for you. I trust in my Lord and I trust in the Lord of my husband Muhammad. At that point in time, when it came time for the birth of Lady Fatima salamullahi alayha, there were 3 or some say 4 women who came to the assistance of Lady Khadija. At that point in time, the lights emerged, these 3 women emerged, and Lady Khadija said, who are you? Who are you to come assist me? She said, we have been sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to assist you in this delivery. The first of them was Sarah, the wife of Ibrahim, the mother of Banu Israel. You know, all the prophets from Banu Israel, Musa and down the line, Harun and all the down the line, they come from the lineage of Sarah. Remember, Ibrahim had 2 wives, Sarah and Hajar. Hajar, Rasulullah comes from the line of Hajar, and for example, the others from Banu Israel come from the line of Sarah. Nonetheless, there's this level of analysis, Sarah. Then there's Asiya, wife of Fir'aun, as you know. Then there's a further level where it's Maryam, the mother of Isa alayhi salam. Now the third, there's some dispute. Some scholars say 3 came, some say 4. But who's the fourth? The fourth is Kulthum, the sister of Musa alayhi salam, who, according to some contemporary historians, if you know something about Judaism, in Judaism, they have 7 women prophets, or prophetesses as they call them. According to them, there's one named Miriam. Miriam is the sister of Musa, not Maryam. Miriam, the sister of Musa and Harun, or Moses and Aaron. Miriam, that one is known as Kulthum in Arabic. She is also the 4th person that came to assist Lady Khadija in this difficult time where she was expecting the child. When she emerged, when Fatima Zehra emerged, according to the riwayat and the narrations, she did prostration immediately to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that state. Why should one be surprised when the one who's coming to assist for delivery is Maryam, one of the people? Where immediately when Isa was born, she became quiet and she pointed towards the child, and the child spoke miraculously immediately. Isa alayhi salam. Why should one be estranged about this? These are the levels of the ihtimam that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the arrangement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made for Fatima Zehra to be born in this world. Now, what lessons can we derive from the life of Fatima Zehra? You see, in our modern world, we have problems, we face challenges. Raising a child, raising a daughter, maybe raising a son. Husband-wife issues, youth trying to get married. All of these challenges exist in our society. Keeping a harmonious marriage. Within the personality of Fatima Zehra, you and I begin to realize how we should be in our families. Remember, as a child, the first muhafiz, the first defender, one may argue, before, as for example, of course there's Abu Talib, of course there's Abdul Muttalib, of course there's Hamza. But as a child, Fatima Zehra is helping her father in the most difficult situations. She is wiping off the wounds and the blood off of his body when he's coming back from Taif. She's removing the filth that Abu Jahl and others are throwing onto Rasulullah. That courage that Fatima Zehra has, that trust that she has in her father, that peace and mind, it's not for any ordinary reason that Rasulullah gave hadith after hadith about his daughter Fatima Zehra. He's saying Fatima is Abiha, father, she is the mother of her father at one point, accepted by all Muslims. Where Rasulullah is saying, for example, whenever I long for the fragrance of Jannah, I call on to my daughter and I smell the neck of Fatima Zehra. Allahu Akbar. Who is Fatima Zehra? She is the peace and the tranquility of the heart of Rasulullah. You know, when Rasulullah would have a difficult time, he says, whenever I see my daughter, I get strength to continue in my journey. Think about that statement sometime. I get energized to continue my tabligh, my mission. Someone else may say, for example, when they're struggling and they're going through strife, they may say, you know, let me stop for the sake of my children. It shows you how aligned Fatima Zehra and Rasulullah were in their mission. Who Fatima? How aligned? Do you know when they got married, when Fatima Zehra and Amir al-Mu'mineen, as a lesson to all the youth who want to get married, those who are married, those who want to get married, inshallah, by the wasila of Fatima Zehra, in this night of her birth commemoration, may Allah give you all happiness in your marriage, inshallah. And may Allah help all those who are trying to get married, inshallah, here and down the road and whenever. The Ahlul Bayt are a lesson for you and I to derive from our lives. You see, there's a moment Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he comes to marry Fatima Zehra, Rasulullah asks, what do you have? He says, Ya Rasulullah, you know, I have a shield, I have a horse, I have a sword, and some say I have a ring. He says, you know, there's no need for you to have a shield. The other things, maybe, the shield you sell and you get married. The mahar, they say, was approximately 500 dirham. Imam as-Sadiq was asked, what was the mahar of Fatima Zehra? Was it this 500 dirhams? He said, this 500 dirham mahar, it was just something that was for this dunya, for this world. So what's the real mahar of Fatima Zehra? He said the real mahar, according to Allah, because Fatima Zehra, if you remember my lecture last time, she got married on the arsh and on the ground, in the heavens and on the ground. That marriage that happened in the heavens, according to Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam, that mahar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh, Fatima, for you is 1/3 of the earth. The land of the earth, 1/3 is for you. Further, he said that 1/4 of fourth portion of Jannah is for you, and a 5th portion of Jahannam is also for you. Meaning who? Those people who you want to send there can go there. Meaning that Fatima Zehra, the same way if you remember Fadak, I mentioned in the lectures on Fadak, that Fadak was not about a garden that was in the Middle East. No, Fadak was the four corners of the world. This was the position of Fatima Zehra. Now, what's the lesson to derive? There's a moment in time where Rasulullah is in the Masjid. When Rasulullah is in the Masjid, a poor man comes. He's a traveler. When he comes to Rasulullah, he said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm a traveler. I'm not from here. His clothes were very simple. They were torn. They were not wearable. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I'm hungry. I'm a traveler. I need to get back home. My clothes are ripped. My clothes are torn. Hunger, and I need some money to get back home. Rasulullah said, is there anyone to help this person? There was no one at that time. Rasulullah said, go to the house of my daughter Fatima Zehra. At that point in time, the man said, very well. He went towards the house of Fatima Zehra. He knocked on the door. Salaamu alaykum wa alaykum as-salam. He said, who is it? He said, I'm a poor man. I'm on a travel. I need to go back home. I don't have money. I don't have food. I don't have clothes. Can you help me? Can you assist me? Your father Rasulullah sent me to your door. According to the riwayah, Fatima Zehra, she goes and she brings a chadar. She brings a cloth. Maybe a scarf, you may say. He sees the cloth. It was not her scarf. It was a cloth. He got the cloth and she saw it. She brought the cloth to him. He saw the cloth. He said, what I am in need of in terms of food, in terms of clothes, in terms of getting back home, I have a long distance to go. This won't help me. I need more. She said, very well. Fatima Zehra went back and she brought a necklace, a simple necklace that she owned. She said, here, I give this to you in the way of Allah. She said, thank you. He took the necklace and he went back towards the masjid. When he went to the masjid, he went to Rasulullah, I just came back from your daughter's home. She gave me this necklace. He said, very well. He said, what do you need? He said, I need a few things. He said, sell it to someone here. He said, very well. He said, who will buy this necklace? Whose necklace it is? It's Fatima Zehra's necklace. Ammar was there. You know Ammar bin Yasir, one of the earliest Muslims I mentioned a few nights ago. Ammar said, Ya Rasulullah, if I have your permission, I would like to buy this. Ammar said, Ya Rasulullah, I want to buy this. At that point in time, Rasulullah said, very well. Ammar, you'll buy it? He said, yes. He said, okay, what do you need? Ammar asked the traveler, what do you need? He said, look, I need some clothes, I need some food, and I need something to wear to be able to get there, and I need to get back home. So I need travel funds, I need food, and I need clothes. 3 things. He said, very well. Come to my house, we'll take care of everything. Ammar and this man, the traveler, they went on their way. When they went on their way, Ammar gave him the clothes, he gave him the food, and he gave him some money for him to travel. That traveler went on his way. When he went on his way, Ammar now saw this necklace. See, Ammar is someone who is at a high level of Iman. There's Salman, 10th level, Abu Dhar at the 9th level, and one may say, for example, Ammar is 7, 8, he's not that far behind. Because Rasulullah had said about many things about Ammar in terms of his fadila. I don't have time. Ammar now said, he had one of his slaves, one of his servants. He said, look, here's the necklace of Fatima Zehra. I want you to take this necklace and go back to the masjid of Rasulullah and give this necklace to Rasulullah back as a gift. And also on top of that, I want you to become Rasulullah's servant from now on. You're not my servant anymore. You're now going to be Rasulullah's servant. He said, very well. This servant, he took this necklace of Rasulullah and he goes straight towards the masjid. He says, Salaamu alaykum ya Rasulullah. He said, wa alaykum as-salam. Ya Rasulullah, Ammar has sent this necklace that belongs to your daughter back to you. And he says, I must give this back to you. It is now yours. And he said, also on top of that, I am to become your servant from here on out. I am no longer his servant. Rasulullah smiled. He said, very well. He said, this necklace, as you know, it belongs to my daughter Fatima Zehra. He said, I want you to go to her door, go to her house, return this necklace back to her. And also on top of that, I'm giving you and I'm freeing you in the way of Allah. Your last duty, I request that you take this necklace and you leave it you give it to my daughter and you go free. The man smiled. He got up, he went towards the door of Fatima Zehra. He said, Salaamu Alaikum. He knocked on the door. Salaamu Alaikum wa Alaikum Assalam. Who is it? He said, I have been sent by your father Rasulullah. I am a servant. I have brought with me your necklace. Fatima Zehra opens the door. She sees the necklace that she had sent coming back. She said, I had given it. He said, Rasulullah has gotten it as a gift from Ammar, who was Ammar's servant. Ammar gave it to Rasulullah. Rasulullah gave it to me. And now I am to give it back to you. At that point in time, Fatima Zehra takes this back and she begins to take it away. But the servant says that Rasulullah sent me to give this as a last duty to you, and he said, I am free. He says, I am astonished, I am shocked, I am marveled that how much barakah is in this necklace. How much reward, how much greatness, how much beauty is in this necklace. That this one necklace was given from its owner. It clothed the one who did not have clothes. It gave food to the one who did not have food. It got a traveler back home who was not able to get home. And it freed a slave and it came back to its home location. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This is Fatima Zehra. Believe me, with my hand on my heart. Fatima Zehra, who assisted at that time and in that place, can help you and I in this zaman, in this makan. It just requires a connection. You know, sometimes we get caught up in materialism. Materialism is not only on fancy house, fancy cars. I'm not going on down that road. Materialism is also what I mentioned, for example. There are some techniques, for example, I mentioned what you should have in a relationship. For example, love, compassion, kindness between husband and wife. But there's other elements that you and I can draw on. You know, sometimes tests and trials come into our lives so that we can grow. You know, there's a book I recommend you all read. It's entitled The Lessons of History by Will and Ariel Durant. These are husband and wife philosophers and historians. They had spent their whole life dedicated to history. They wrote a book called The Lessons of History. Many of the biggest traders and bankers on Wall Street recommend this book to understand the patterns of history, to understand how to invest. I won't get into that. They asked Dr. Will Durant, what is your encapsulation? If you were to say the history of religion and history, what's the relationship between religion and history? If you were to sum it up in one sentence, what would you say? He said, if you want me to sum up all of history and religion in one sentence, in one line, I'll tell you this. When times are good, religion goes down. When times are bad, religion goes up. Doesn't the Quran say the same thing? That when they're in the seas and their ship is about to sink, they call out to us, they call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah delivers them to the shore. And when Allah delivers them to the shore, they forget Allah immediately. When we get these trials, it causes us to reflect and think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His grandeur. But remember, as followers of Ahlul Bayt, you and I are never devoid of assistance in the personality of the Ahlul Bayt. Ayatullah Bahjat, one of the greatest Urafa, the great scholars. You know, all Urafa and all Sufis, for example, they trace their line to a man by the name of Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi, controversial figure, but he was a Spaniard Islamic scholar. You know, when Islam had spread to Spain, Andalus and Cordoba and the likes, he was a scholar from there. He wrote a book called The Bezels of Wisdom. This is considered, all of the Sufis and Urafa go back to this book in terms of what is Islamic spirituality. Muhyiddin ibn Arabi, when he was asked about Fatima Zehra, he's not Shia of course, he was asked about Fatima Zehra. He said, what would you describe? How would you describe the daughter of Rasulullah? Do you know what he said? He said that she is the Hawa of Alamul Aql. She is the lady, the first lady of the realm of mantiq, logic, reason. Of course, these are his words. I'm not agreeing with him. But I'm saying that he said if anyone was the first person as a female contributor to knowledge, intellect, and wisdom, Ibn Arabi, not a Shia, is saying it was Fatima Zehra. Remember, I told you in the last lecture on Fatima Zehra as well, that she was the person in terms of balagha, in terms of eloquence, the foremost of all women was Fatima Zehra. It's not to be taken lightly. But how does she help you and I? Ayatullah Bahjat. Ayatullah Bahjat, a very big arif, who passed away, as you know, maybe a decade or so ago. he says that there were two brothers. They were on their way. I'm telling you the manzilat of Fatima Zehra to help you and I in our lives. They were on their way on a journey. They were in Iran. They were not, one brother was very religious, the other was not very religious, by the apparent Zahiri aspects. So they were on their way to Mashhad for the ziyarah of Imam al-Rida. When they were on their way for the ziyarah of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam, as they got closer to Mashhad, one of the brothers, the one who was not practicing, he died. He passed away. When he passed away, the one who was practicing, he became very worried. He became very concerned. So what should I do? What can I do? He said, and then he was also worried about this dunya, but also the akhirah. Where do I bury him and things? At some point in time, a man came and said, don't worry, you're in the vicinity of Imam al-Rida, you're in Mashhad, we'll take care of it, don't worry. So they made the arrangements. He said in the night, he saw his brother in a dream. He's in the high station in Jannah. So what happened? He said, you weren't practicing in your life. You were going down this road and that road. What happened? You get this position? He said, it wasn't always like this. He said, as soon as I passed away, my trials began. Things became very difficult for me. From my ghusl to kafan to everything. And I won't go into the details. But he said, eventually they took me, as you know, for those of you who have been on ziyarah to Mashhad or in Karbala or Najaf, whenever someone dies in the vicinity of the Imams, typically what they do is, they take them around and do tawaf around the dhari, 1, 2, 3 times, and then they take them to bury them, as a barakah. He said, what happened was, I noticed that I'm in that state and nothing is solving my problem when I've died. Ghusl, kafan, nothing. But when they take me towards the zari of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam in Mashhad, as soon as I enter into the sahan, Ayatollah Bahjat narrating this from two brothers. He says, as soon as I entered into the sahan, the difficulty became light. I didn't have to deal with anything. As soon as this happened, they began to take me towards the shrine and the zari of Imam al-Rida. When they began to take me towards the zari, a man looked at me, because my soul was there. He said, you're only being saved at this point because you're in the vicinity of the Imam. You're in the proximity of the Imam. As soon as you go back out of this shrine, you will have to face the same difficulty. So what can I do? He said, that's the Imam there. Call out to him, maybe he can help you. He said, my soul began to call out to the Imam. He would say, Yabna Rasulullah, Yabna Amir al-Mu'mineen, O Imam al-Rida, O Ali ibn Musa. He was calling and calling and calling, nothing happens. No response. He looked back at the same person who told him, look, talk to the Imam, he can help you. He said, the Imam is not responding. There's one thing you can do. He said, what? He said, call him by his grandmother's name. As you know, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, the Imam of our time, his most beloved name is Ibn Zahra as well. There's a special connections our Imam have with their grandmother Fatima Zehra. At that point in time, he looked at the Imam, this brother, he said, Yabna Zahra. As soon as he said that, O son of Zahra, at that point in time the Imam turned around. You told me and you called me with such a name, I can't refute. I cannot not respond to you. He said, by my grandmother Fatima Zehra, I will do shafa'ah for you. He said it was because of this shafa'ah. The question you and I have is, how do we develop this connection with Ahlul Bayt here? At night, recite tasbih of Fatima Zehra. Remember Ayatollah Najafi Maharaj, she said, my son, never forget the tasbih of Fatima Zehra. Recite it at night, recite it after salah, but do it with consciousness and ma'rifah. Don't do it just, I don't want to stop anyone from doing it. Even if you're doing it, that's still good. But stop and reflect. Whose tasbih is this? Sometimes we swing by, we fly by. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, and as you know. I don't want to stop anyone from doing it. But this lady is how tremendous, how magnanimous. She can help you and I in the most difficult situations. Another riwayah I want to give you as I conclude. Fatima Zehra has a conversation with Amir al-Mu'mineen towards the end of her life. A lesson for you and I in our lives, in our relationships. For those who want to get married or are married or eventually down the road. She says, Ya Ibn Am, oh my uncle's son. Look at the respect that Fatima Zehra addressed Amir al-Mu'mineen with. Do we respect our husband and wives, our spouses with respect? Whether it's the husband referring to the wife or the wife referring to the husband. Use respect. Use loving words, use compassionate words. Fatima Zehra used the most compassionate words to address her husband. And Amir al-Mu'mineen reciprocated. She said there's 3 elements of our relationship that we've not had. And I want you to bear witness to this. There has been no dishonesty in our relationship. Fatima Zehra is saying to Amir al-Mu'mineen, there's been no dishonesty in our relationship. I tell you the truth, you've always told me the truth. What is going on in our relationships? Are we always honest? Or both ways? You see, children pick up on honesty or dishonesty. She is the daughter of the one who was known as Sadiq and Amin before he announced prophethood. And she's also known as Siddiqa herself. You see, these traits children pick up on honesty. Do we have honesty in our spouses? That's what builds trust. She says the second level, we never had disloyalty in our relationship. Fatima Zehra said. We never had disloyalty. You see, in our world, we have this environment where things are becoming very problematic. I get some of these emails and calls that I have to deal with. And of course, there's privacy. I'm not going to mention anyone's names, but you know this better than I do. You see, our modern world has been so encapsulated by dopamine hits. I don't have time to explain the neuroscience behind dopamine. But there's a way to keep the spark alive in your relationship. Find that spark. Inshallah, another time we'll talk about it. Keep that spark alive in your relationship. Don't go after quick dopamine hits, because what happens afterwards is what you become lonely in that process. So there was never disloyalty in our relationship. Fatima Zehra said the third thing, there was never disagreement in our relationship. Allahu Akbar. Imagine, husband and wife never having disagreement. That's how aligned they were. Remember when Amir al-Mu'mineen returned from Khaybar, what happened? When he returned from Khaybar, Amir al-Mu'mineen gave everything away, although he had gotten the most wealth because he was the Fatih of Khaybar. But he said, I gave everything in the way of the Radha of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I gave everything in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I gave everything away. She said, I could not be happier with this news. Allahu Akbar. Look at the alignment between these two individuals. And ask yourself and myself, where do we stand in these 3 dimensions of what Fatima Zehra has said? As I conclude, Iqbal says, Maryam, az yik nisbat Isa aziz, as seh nisbat Hazrat Zahra aziz. That Maryam is exalted for one reason, that she is the mother of Isa. Fatima Zehra is exalted for 3 reasons. Noor-e chashma-e rahmatan lil alameen, on imam-e awwaleen wa akhareen. That she is the light of the eyes of Rasulullah, who is the imam of all the prophets. And then he continues, Banu-e tajdar-e halata, murtaza mushkil kusha sher-e khuda. That her husband is the one who has the crown of halata, Surah Dahar, on his head. He is murtaza mushkil kusha, the one who solves the problems of everyone. And she continues into his qasida, referring to her being the mother of Imam al-Hussein, who is the leader and the commander of the qafila Salar-e-Ishq. That he is the one who is the leader of the qafila of Ishq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is this lady? Who is this great magnanimous personality? That rahmatan lil alameen's rahmah is Fatima Zehra. And when it comes to kulle iman, the one who has the complete iman, she's completing the iman of kulle iman. Abul Hasan, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And she is the mother of Hassanain, Imam Hassan and Hussein, who are the Sayyids, who are the Sardars, who are the masters of the youth of paradise. A paradise in which everyone is youth. But I think perhaps the best answer about Fatima Zehra comes from Dr. Ali Shariati, where he says, I wanted to write that Fatima is the daughter of Khadija, but this did not capture her. I wanted to write that she is the daughter of Rasulullah. This did not capture her essence. I wanted to write that she is the wife of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This did not capture her essence. I wanted to write that she is the mother of Hassan and Hussein. This did not capture her essence. I wanted to write this and I wanted to write that. It was not until I wrote one line that I could encapsulate Fatima, and that line was, Fatima is Fatima. There is no one else. Fatima is Fatima. She is in every verse of the Quran, in Mubahila, in Surah Qadr, in Surah Kawthar, in Surah Dahar. Fatima Zehra, the poet says, on the moment of Mubahila, what was Mubahila? It was an announcement, that line, Nisa'ukum, bring your women, we'll bring our women. Rasulullah had all of his wives after Khadija alive He didn't take them. He took one lady, his daughter Fatima Zehra, because of that. Sare sharike bazme ke saathe mahaz par. I'm ending right here, inshallah. Sare sharike bazme ke saathe mahaz par. Remember, when we say the access is Fatima Zehra, the concept that I outlined at the beginning, how was Fatima Zehra introduced in Hadith Kisa that you just recited a moment ago? Allah did not say it's Rasulullah and his family. He didn't say Ali and his family. He said, Hum Fatima wa abuha wa ba'luha wa banuha. Now you understood what I said at the beginning. Fatima Zehra was known more in the heavens than she was in earth. Otherwise, why would Allah introduce based on Fatima? That means the angels knew Fatima Zehra more than any of the personalities under Kisa. That's why she is the markaz. She is the access of the Ahlul Bayt. Mahaz is the battleground or the battlefield. They're all ready to fight. Allegorically, metaphorically. Sare sharike bazme ke saathe mahaz par tha hukme kibriya ka taqaza mubahila. Tha hukme kibriya ka taqaza mubahila. وہ تو نساؤکم کے لیے آ گئی بطول. وہ تو نساؤکم کے لیے آ گئی بطول, ورنہ تو جیت سکتی تھی فضا مباہلہ. وہ تو نساؤکم. علی 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 یا علی یا علی. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. وہ تو نساؤکم کے لیے آ گئی بطول, ورنہ تو جیت سکتی تھی فضا مباہلہ. Fatima Zehra came to Mubahila because the ayah said Nisa'ukum, bring your women and we'll bring our women. Rasulullah's one lady represented all the women, Fatima Zehra. That she came because the ayah required her to come. Otherwise, Fidda could have won Mubahila by herself. Fidda, she never spoke. Fidda, who was the one who served Fatima Zehra, she did not speak in language like you and I. She spoke in what? She spoke in the Quran. She could have responded to them. Develop a relationship, develop a connection to the Fatima Zehra, and in your most difficult times, you will get assistance. Believe me, Ya Allah, we ask you in all these difficult turmoils, by the Wiladat and the grace of Fatima Zehra and the jubilance in the heavens and the earth, Ya Allah, grant all the mu'mineen their hajat and islam. Anyone who's going through a financial difficulty, Ya Allah, by Fatima Zehra, grant them difficulty from their adversity. Ya Allah, anyone going through circumstance where they're unwell, or relatives are unwell, this global pandemic, anyone who's suffering from it, Ya Allah, by Fatima Zehra, grant them alleviation from this difficulty. And Ya Allah, anyone who has any difficulty, anyone who wants to get married, Ya Allah, allow them to get married with that line and understanding of Fatima Zehra and her beloved family. And Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Allow us to be amongst his companions when he returns. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
برائے خوشنودی امام زمانہ باواز بلندتر صلوات. نور کی انجمن فاطمہ نور کی انجمن فاطمہ مرکز پنجتن فاطمہ عرش سے بن کے آئی ہے تو مرتضیٰ کی دلہن فاطمہ، کہکشاں سے زیادہ حسین تیرے گھر کا چمن فاطمہ، خلد کا عرش پر ہے دماغ، خلد کا عرش پر ہے دماغ، چھو کے تیرے چرن فاطمہ، نور کی انجمن فاطمہ، کب کسی ماں نے پیدا کیے پھر حسین و حسن فاطمہ، بن گیا تیرا باغ فدق، غاصبوں کا کفن فاطمہ، بولی زینب سے روح علی، سر اٹھا اور بن فاطمہ، ہے یہ کالے نبی سروش، میرا تن میرا من فاطمہ، باواز بلندر صلوات.
زيارة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والحجة بن الحسن، عجل الله فرجه وسهل الله مخرجه وظهوره، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Niyaz will be served out on your entrance at the car exit. Thank you.